All right. When we immediately before breaking for lunch, Judge Allred had made a motion for directed verdict or to dismiss all counts against him. During the lunch break, the commission was able to consider that motion, and the commission has voted to deny the motion. We will go forward. So, Judge Allred, if you would call your first witness, please.
Sean Miller. I thought I'd save you some time on that.
If you'd come around and raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Take a seat.
Mr. Miller, would you state your full name for the record, please?
Sean Brent Miller,
And how old are you, sir?
38.
And are you the same Sean Miller that ran for judge executive in the last election in Harlan County?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have an occasion in the winter before the primary election, the last primary election in Harlan, to have a conversation with Sheriff Marvin Litford?
I did.
And was that conversation in relation to Judge Grisham?
Yes, sir.
If you would, please tell the commission how that conversation came about.
I received a phone call on my cell phone, and I was asked to come to the sheriff's office to meet with the sheriff and the ball fella from the chaplain's corps.
Okay. Who called you?
Marvin J.
Marvin J. Who?
Litford.
Is that the sheriff?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you familiar with the sheriff's voice?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you know him before you got this phone call?
Yes.
A lot of these questions may seem silly, but these folks don't know what you know there, so I have to make sure they know that. Did you, in fact, go down to the sheriff's office?
Yes, sir.
And what did you see when you went in the sheriff's office?
It was, I believe it was a Sunday. The deputies were, they had kind of gathered in, I think, that afternoon to watch the ball game, watch Kentucky play. Then he, in turn, he took me back into his office, he and Mr. Ball, and we began our conversation at that point.
And what was your conversation about, if you recall?
What my intent was to do, if I was fortunate enough to win county judge, and if I would continue to support the chaplain's corps and things of that nature.
And who was doing most of the talking?
Phil Ball.
Okay. And the sheriff, this was in the sheriff's office?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What happened after that conversation, if anything?
We may have stepped out for a few minutes, maybe watched just a minute or two of the ball game, and then I started to leave, and as I was leaving, the sheriff walked out with me.
Okay. And what happened then?
He told me that he had something to tell me.
Okay. And did he tell you what he had to tell you?
Yes, sir.
And what was that?
He told me that he had an indictment that would be coming down against Judge Grisham.
Okay. And how did you take that?
Well, I assumed that would be something coming, something quickly. in the next few weeks at that point in time, and it was 4 or 5 months after the fact.
Did he seem confident that there would be an indictment?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Did you solicit this information from him? In other words, did you ask him about it?
None whatsoever. Had no idea.
Okay. And when this conversation took place, it was just you and the sheriff outside of the sheriff's office?
Yes, he had followed me out outside of the doors of the sheriff's office.
And this was immediately following Bill Ball's conversation with you and the sheriff's
Yes,
office?
yes, sir.
No further questions.
Mr. Mando?
Good morning. Good afternoon, Mr. Miller. My name's Jeff Mando. We've never met before, have we?
No, sir.
All right. You never saw any evidence in the Grisham case that day when you were at the sheriff's office, did you?
No, sir.
And you weren't present when Judge Allred viewed the evidence, the video evidence in the Grisham matter, were you?
No, sir.
You know anything about his view of the Grisham evidence?
No, none whatsoever.
No further questions.
Thank you. Judge, anything further?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Members of the commission, any questions? Doesn't look like you're free to go. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Safe trip. Jonathan Pope.
Sir, if you would, raise your right hand, please. Be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
And there's your seat there, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pope.
Good afternoon.
Would you please state your full name for the record?
Jonathan Pope.
Okay, and Mr. Pope, are you a elected official in Harlan County?
Yes, sir. I'm magistrate of District 1 in Harlan County.
Okay. And when were you elected to that position?
November 4th
Of what year?
2010.
Okay. Did you have a primary election in 2010?
Yes.
Okay.
May.
And obviously you won your primary election.
Yes.
Did you have an occasion? Did you have an occasion to have a discussion with Marvin Litford in early April 2010?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was this conversation, did it take place before the special grand jury was convened in Harlan?
Absolutely.
Okay. And where did this conversation take place?
At my former place of employment, Harlan ARH Hospital.
And what was your job title at Harlan ARH Hospital?
I was a refrigeration mechanic.
Okay. And if you would, please tell the commission how that came about.
Okay. I was working. I can't remember exactly what I was doing that day. But I had an overhead page, and I answered it, and they told me to come to the front desk. And Sheriff Lipford was at the front desk waiting on me. And he started talking, and I actually took him to the front entrance where people couldn't hear what we were talking about. And
Why did you do that?
He was saying a few choice words, and
When you say choice words, what do you mean?
cuss words,
Okay.
just not clean around hospital families.
And continue on. What happened then?
He told me that I needed to come down to the chaplain's corps building one day, and he said they were really helping me. And he told me if I won the primary that I would not have a general election because Judge Grisham and Paul Caldwell would be indicted before the general election. He had them on surveillance camera exchanging sex for drugs with a local girl.
Mr. Chairman, there's an objection for the record on relevancy grounds. Conversations that Martin Litford had about the investigation, other than with Judge Allred, are not the subject of this particular hearing.
Impeachment purposes. He testified that he didn't have a conversation with these people about it. I'm impeaching him by bringing in fact, he did lie and have it, was my position, he lied and did have conversations with these people about it. He told them about these investigations.
Mr. Chairman, my point is that's irrelevant. The question is, what conversations did Judge Allred have outside of the courtroom about this investigation? What evidence did he review before he decided to issue the special grand jury order? What Marvin Lippert may have said, according to these witnesses, about the investigation has no bearing on the outcome of these charges, on the prosecution of the charges, or the defense that he's presented.
My response is, Mr. Chairman, the allegation has been made numerous times that I convened a special grand jury to assist my second cousin, who's running for Judge Executive, which I assert is completely false, untrue, and continually deny that. What I'm attempting to do is to show exactly who was using the grand jury and the investigative aspects of it for their own political purposes. One witness just testified, he was told by the sheriff he was going to indict his opponent in the Judge Executive race. I have another official here who's running for office who was summoned by the sheriff to have a conversation, to make it a point to let him know he's going to indict the Judge Executive. The sheriff testified implicitly that he didn't do these things, and it goes to his credibility as a witness, and it goes to my defense to establish that they were using this grand jury for their own political purpose, i.e., to be in with the chaplain's corps, number one, make sure the chaplain's corps was secure with whoever the Judge Executive would be. Number two, to assure that the sheriff would be in and re-elected to look for help in his own office. And that's what this evidence shows.
Judge, I'm going to let you do it, but I am concerned about hearsay. They can't say what somebody else said because they're not a subject to this hearing. You don't get to ask them what. I am concerned about that. You objected about hearsay before. This gentleman's talking about something that the sheriff told him or didn't tell him. That's not before us.
For impeachment purposes, a statement against interest.
That's a collateral matter. That's a collateral matter. You can ask the witness, but you can't ask these people what people told them. It's hearsay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may respond, okay? A statement against interest, okay? If the sheriff is a law enforcement agent who's a sworn peace officer that testified in this hearing, he's never been trained in any of his training to disclose confidential investigations to the public, makes that statement. It's a statement against his own interest as a police officer.
He's not a party to this case.
But he was a party in the
He's a witness. That is a collateral matter. You don't get to impeach on collateral matters. I'm going to let you proceed, but I'm very concerned about you're asking this man to tell you what other people told them. They are not a party to this matter. That is hearsay. It's rank hearsay. You had the sheriff sitting there. You asked him the questions.
It's my position he lied. And if I've got a witness that can prove he lied,
how can he prove it? He says something different. How is that proof that the sheriff lied?
It should be proof that the commission should hear.
I'm going to let you ask you, but I'm telling you, I'm concerned about hearsay. You didn't want hearsay in before. Now you're asking this gentleman to give you hearsay. That's what you're asking him. What did the sheriff tell you?
Which my position is a statement against interest. Does that apply to a party owner?
I believe it does. It's a collateral matter.
What's the rule on that, Mr. Chairman? I'd like to look at the rules.
I'm going to let you ask him. Go ahead and ask him.
Does that mean it comes in or doesn't come?
I'm sorry?
I don't understand the rules.
You're going to get to ask.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Pope, the sheriff called you, let's go over it. The sheriff called you at the hospital, had you paged. You went down to him. He told you these things. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What were his exact words? Do you remember what his exact words were to the best of your knowledge?
Objection for the record.
He can answer.
Just that if I won the primary, I would be the magistrate of the 1st District. That I wouldn't have an election for against my opponent in the file. That he will be under indictment along with the Judge Executive.
Okay. Did that surprise you that the sheriff would tell you something?
Absolutely.
Objection.
He can answer that.
Lead.
He did.
Oh.
I think he said very.
Absolutely. Did you receive any phone calls? Change the question here to this one. Have you ever received a phone call from James Howard?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever received a phone call from James Howard since you've been an elected official?
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to talk to Mr. James Howard when he called you?
Yes.
Do you recall when those phone calls took place?
It was during May. We were having fiscal court meetings weekly. We're working on budgets. And I looked at the statistics on the number of cases from the year previous, and they were like 884, and they hired an
Objection
assistant.
on relevancy, Mr. Chairman, also hearsay.
What does this?
That's not hearsay.
Hold on a second. He's testifying about what he knows, not what someone told him. And then in regard to relevance, if I can just have,
Go ahead, Judge.
You guys have had a day and a half, so I'd like to at least have a little bit.
I've actually got those numbers in my vehicle. if you need them.
Let's go back to it, Mr. Pope.
Okay.
Okay, back to what you were saying. There was a fiscal court meeting.
Yes.
When
Talks
was-
on budget.
When was this?
This one was in,
Since you've been elected?
yes, in May. And we were looking at things that we should cut. We were having to cut quite a bit in our budget. And I mentioned that the numbers of the Commonwealth's attorney had been cut almost 75% case number. And I thought that the assistant that the county is paying for was actually should be cut because it's actually a state job paid for by county money. And I was the one that mentioned that. And when I got home that evening, I received a lot of phone calls from Mr. Howard wanting me to keep Mr. Johnson's budget intact.
How many phone calls did you receive from Mr. Howard?
Approximately 20, but they were from his different businesses in the county. Harlan Gulf, LP Energy, Browning Acres, Texaco. I'd have to pull my phone records, but they're on there.
What exactly did he tell you?
Objection.
Judge?
I withdraw the question.
Okay.
Nothing further. Thank you, Mr. Pope.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Hope?
Yes.
There's other people getting the right to ask questions.
Sorry.
Mr. Mando, if they have any, I'm not sure if they do, but if they do.
Mr. Pope, my name's Jeff Mando. I represent the commission. We've not met before, correct? First time we've seen
Nice
each
to
other.
meet you. Yes.
Am I correct from listening to your direct testimony that you did not see any of the video or audio tape evidence involving the Grisham case when Sheriff Lipford discussed that matter with you? Is that correct, sir?
No, I was told about it.
You did not see it?
Right.
All right. And am I correct, sir, that that Judge Allred was the best man in your wedding?
His brother was.
His brother was?
Uh-huh. I also coached baseball with Mr. Lipford, too, so it's a small town. We all know each other.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just have one follow-up question. Mr. Pope, you've known me a long time, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Would you lie for me under oath in court?
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
I'll let him answer. Hold on a second. Mr. Mando, any further questions? Any member of the commission?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Judge Keller?
Mr. Pope, my name is Michelle Keller. I'm
Hello.
from Court of Appeals. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
The hearsay objections notwithstanding, I really just want to make sure I heard your answer correctly. I think that when asked by Judge Allred about what your discussions with the sheriff were, you said the sheriff told you he had the judge executive and maybe someone else
Yeah.
on tape trade. I just want to make sure I got this correct. I think you stated trading sexual favors for drugs. Is that correct? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, absolutely. That was,
That's your testimony.
Uh-huh.
That's what the sheriff told you.
yes.
And it was the judge executive and who else?
His name was Paul Caldwell. He was my opponent in the fall election.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have an election in the fall?
Yes. I did.
Does that raise anything for either of you?
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
You're free to go, Mr. Pope.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming. Judge Allred, your next witness. That's fine.